It's June 30th, 2015. We're in Miami Beach, the IAPAC conference. I'm Shannon Weber with HIVE, a hub of positive sexual and reproductive health, here with
Jessica Terlikowski with the AIDS Foundation of Chicago.
And we want to talk about lessons learned from the female condom campaign that might apply to PrEP implementation for women. So first of all, talk to me a little bit about the history of female condoms, particularly here in the US, and what your experience has been like trying to roll out or help increase the adoption of female condoms.
Yeah, so female condoms were first introduced in the US more than 20 years ago. And the uptake, as many know, has been slower than a lot of us would like. But actually a few years ago, about 5 years ago, we had an opportunity to actually re-energize and reintroduce the female condom because a new version came online.
Right. And we're going to link to a video, actually.
Yeah.
You talking about the new female condom.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that we really learned from that experience was early and often engagement of the community.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're talking about the community, we're talking about individuals that are potential users, as well as those folks that serve as gatekeepers. So people that are in the field, on the front line, doing prevention and education work, as well as medical providers.
So you and Anna Forbes have done a lot of this work together, and you guys have talked to me about these concepts of building awareness and building demand.
Yeah.
So talk to me about the difference of that, or between those, and then examples of successful building of awareness and building of demand.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely inextricably linked, there's no question. And you know, I think that for female condoms, building that demand is so critical. And as Anna has said, and I've adopted it as well, is that you can't demand what you don't know about.
Yep.
So the building of awareness is so critical, and we've done that through doing education and training in Chicago with the Chicago Female Condom Campaign, and as a result of that work, we've seen more requests for female condoms. The conversation also changing, and people who used to be dismissive of female condoms no longer being dismissive and really embracing them on the provider side. Mm-hmm. And that's not unique to Chicago. We saw that in San Francisco where they had a campaign, the same thing in DC, New York City, which has been leading this effort for more than 10 years. And so with that effort, we've seen greater demand increase. But I think that awareness piece is so critical because one of the responses that we get whenever we say, well, where are the female condoms is, well, people don't want them, people don't use them. Mm-hmm. Well, people don't use them because they don't know that they exist. They don't know where to get them. They don't know how to use them. So in order to generate that demand, they've got to build that.
We've certainly seen that in terms of PrEP implementation happening with gay men here in the U.S., but we have yet to really see that awareness and that demand built for women.
Absolutely. And I think that's really important, right? I mean, so the conversations around PrEP for gay men have been really, there's been a concentrated effort and investment in time, mm-hmm. in energy and resource to ensure that that community knows what it is and knows how to get it. And we still have a lot of work to do, particularly within communities of color, to make sure that gay men of color know about this. But a lot of work needs to be done around with trans women as well as with cisgender women to make sure that they know that PrEP is an option for them as well. Mm-hmm. And that's incumbent upon us as advocates within our own communities to really make sure that they have that information. And so we want to make sure that women are part of this conversation, that we're helping to generate that awareness so they can increase that demand and go into their providers and say, I want something that I can use to protect myself against HIV. Yeah. How can I do that? Or I know what PrEP is.
Right.
Give it to me.
Yeah. Talk to me about challenges and opportunities then that you've seen in the rollout of the female condom campaign that might apply here. So gatekeepers, community leaders, provider bias or provider support.
Yeah, so provider bias, I'd say, is one of the biggest things that we needed to contend with and to overcome, because the research actually supports this, and that's what informed our organizing and our program development, was that provider bias played a big role in the unwillingness of providers to actually promote female condoms to their clients. They had already made the decision that this is not an option, they don't want to use it, that type of thing. And so as a result of that, we really focused our efforts on educating providers and frontline staff and helping them get comfortable with female condoms, letting them know how to use them. And once we were able to increase their level of comfort and their feeling of confidence with using female condoms and how to talk about it with their patients and their clients, we saw that bias was starting to fall away. Mm-hmm. and then they were more willing to promote it and get excited about it and be a positive messenger. And that positive messaging is so critical. That frame is really important.
Yep.
So I think the link between this and PrEP is that, we've seen providers say to people who are going in and seeking PrEP, that's not for you, or
Right.
I don't write prescriptions for that, or somebody else can manage that. And that's, one, it's not acceptable, and two, it's not right.
And there's a disconnect for
There
the
is.
consumer or the patient.
Right.
Yeah. Anna Forbes talks about this concept of a spark plug.
Yeah.
Which I love. So
Yeah.
talk to me about spark plugs and how they're important.
Yeah, so Anna, who is one of my personal heroes and who I frankly give a lot of much credit to for me and my female condom advocacy. She talks about spark plugs and the importance of really finding these people who have got a fire in their belly to want to drive this work.
Mm-hmm. And where do you find these people? Who is this?
Yeah, so finding these people is sort of like, I think it takes one spark plug to spark another typically,
Yeah.
and so you start having these conversations, and it's really talking about, like, do you know about the female condom? What are you doing with your community locally, and kind of finding that. And what I've been really excited to see actually is a lot of young women really take this up, and sort of like these young women advocates being like, I own this, like this is something that's important to me, and they will be the messenger for female condoms,
Yeah.
Which is really powerful. And I think one of the things that this sort of proves to be both a benefit and can be a challenge in terms of the spark plug, because you have these folks that are so driven, so committed to this issue, that they work to drive all of this, and so we see that in these different pockets across the country. But what's really critical is that they're working to to really build up other advocates as well, because if they end up moving to a different field or something, then we could lose them. So,
Right.
And we've seen that, if somebody transitions into a different position, we may lose that. We have individual champions, and what we're working to really do is to cultivate that championship amongst organizations, so to institutionalize that championing.
Yeah, what a great idea. Champions are definitely needed. Thinking about what do you think is next for the prevention field for women, and I want to just plant the seed that another thing I've learned from you and Anna is that when you're moving forward as an advocate, that you don't leave a known technology behind.
Right.
So if you would integrate that into this, kind of what do you think is next, or
Yeah.
what do we need to do?
Yeah, so I think a couple of things. One is, all the education and training that we're doing, we're talking about female condoms, we're talking about PrEP, we're talking about PEP, we're talking about treatment, we're talking about microbicides coming down the line. So really, there's this whole range of options, and we need to talk about them all together and to prioritize all of them so people can pick different things at different times to meet their specific needs at that time in their specific contexts, right? So I think to that end, we're really excited to see, as the National Female Condom Coalition, we've actually made a statement that, will we sign on in support of all these other interventions and supporting the advancement of those.
Yeah.
And so with that, we're also really encouraging and recruiting others who are advocates around PrEP to take up the female condom banner as well.
Right.
And to say that, we do have some lessons to be learned from the female condom field, and also to prepare the way for, new modalities, and really new versions of female condoms. There's other condoms that are available, other female condoms that are available in other parts of the world that we don't have here in the US, that look different than what we have in the US, and we're working to prepare the way for those here.
Yeah.
And, just as we're working to prepare the way for those other products to come to the U.S., we want to work in coalition with our sisters around the world to make sure that we're also going to get PrEP in the U.S. and then also PrEP to women across the globe who need
So
it.
really working together to build this toolkit.
Yes.
It's really going to give women options and choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for all your work.
Yeah, thank
This is
you.
amazing.
This has been really fun.
It's exciting. Thanks.
Yeah.